The World Goes On by Laszlo Krasznahorkai. Chapter 3. He Wants to Forget. We are in the midst of a cynical self-reckoning as the not-too-illustrious children of a not-too-illustrious epoch that will consider itself truly fulfilled only when every individual writhing in it, after languishing in one of the deepest shadows of human history, will finally attain the sad and temporarily self-evident goal, oblivion. This age wants to forget it has gambled away everything on its own, without outside help, and that it can't blame alien powers, or fate, or some remote baleful influence. We did this ourselves. We have made away with gods and with ideals. We want to forget, for we cannot even muster the dignity to accept our bitter defeat. For infernal smoke and infernal alcohol have gnawed away whatever character we had. In fact, smoke and cheap spirits are all that remains of the erstwhile metaphysical travelers yearning for angelic realms. The noxious smoke left by longing and the nauseating spirits left over from the maddening potion of fanatical obsession. No, history has not ended, and nothing has ended, and we can no longer delude ourselves by thinking that anything has ended with us. We merely continue something, maintaining it somehow. Something continues, something survives. We still produce works of art, but no longer even talk about how. It is that far from uplifting. We take as our premise all that until now denoted the nature of la condition humaine, and dutifully, in fact, without a clue, obeying strict discipline, but in fact foundering in a slough of despond, we sink back once more into the muddy waters of the imaginable totality of human existence. We no longer even make the mistake of the wild young ones, by claiming that our judgment is the last judgment, or declaring that this is where the road ends. We cannot claim that, since nothing makes sense anymore. For us, works of art no longer contain narrative or time, nor can we claim that others might ever be able to find a way toward making sense of things. We declare that it has proved useless to disregard our disillusionment and set out towards some nobler goal, towards some higher power. Our attempts keep failing ignominiously. In vain, we would talk about nature. Nature doesn't want this. It is no use to talk about the divine. The divine doesn't want this. And anyway, no matter how much we want to, we are unable to talk about anything other than ourselves, because we are only capable of talking about history, about the human condition, about that never-changing quality whose essence carries such titillating relevance only for us. Otherwise, from the viewpoint of that divine otherwise, this essence of ours is actually possibly of no consequence whatsoever, forever and I. Chapter 4. How lovely. How lovely it would be, a world that we could end by organizing a series of lectures, anywhere in this departing world, and give it the general subtitle, Lecture Series on Area Theory, where one after another, as in a circus arena, lecturers from all parts of the world would talk about area theory. A physicist, followed by an art historian, a poet, a geographer, a biologist, a musicologist, an architect, a philosopher, an anarchist, a mathematician, an astronomer, and so on. And where in front of a permanent, never-varying audience, that physicist, that art historian, that poet, that geographer, that biologist, that musicologist, that architect, that philosopher, that anarchist, that mathematician, that astronomer, and so on, would relate his thoughts about area from his own respective point of view. Keeping in mind the overall title for the lecture series, There is no area, pointing out the peculiar relation between the title and the subject so that the artist or the scientist would speak about this, approaching it from his respective perspective of poetry, music, mathematics, architecture, fine art, geography, biology, the language of poetics and physics, philosophy, anarchy, telling us what he thinks and what he recommends we should think about area. And all this under the aegis of a summary statement denying that this subject, area, exists at all. The contradiction, however, is only apparent. This lecture series could just as well bear, bitterly, the title, All is Area, as objectively as its actual title, there is no area. For the lecturers would speak about the significance, for them and for us, of a being from whose point of view, when looking at the universe, area does exist. They would lecture about the importance of the question, namely, can the undeniably limited nature of the human viewpoint possibly lead us to the weighty, if unprovable, assertion, and according to another viewpoint, besides the human it is conceivable, that there is no area, that this is how matters stand, yet nevertheless, for us, regardless of where we look, we see ruined and intact nothing but area, area upon area everywhere. Given that we have reached a point where, trapped in the bewitchingly confined space of the human viewpoint, as we near the incidental termination of an excruciating spiritual journey, we must arrive at the conclusion, beyond this bewitching confinement, we in fact insist on nothing else, not even on existence of any kind. We no longer insist even on existence, only on the promise that for once in some area, amidst the most profound beauty and decay, we may glimpse something, anything that refers to us.